Thank you for joining us on Business Now. I am Samuel Okata. Stakeholders in the downstream sector have called for the federal government to provide foreign exchange at the Central Bank of Nigeria's rate to enable petroleum importation. The appeal was made during a virtual online workshop with the theme Deregulation of the Nigerian Downstream Sector, the day after, organized by the Nigerian Petroleum Downstream Industry in collaboration with the African Refiners and Distributors Association in Lagos. National President, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Chinedu Okoronkwo, who was represented by its National Operations Controller, Mike Osatuyi, explained that with the proposed removal of fuel subsidy by the government, pump price would likely drop to around 500 naira if the government encourages the Central Bank of Nigeria to provide forex to marketers at the official rate. He added that marketers were in full support of federal government's plan to fully deregulate the downstream sector. Osaji also urged the government to channel savings from subsidy toward provisions of palliatives in form of public transportation, freight of agricultural produce, and ensure transparent and effective communication. He also called on the government to improve access to foreign exchange, trade finance, guarantee strategic stock, and provide access to crude oil for refineries ahead of the planned total removal of petrol subsidy. Osaji also charged the government to be alert and sensitive to resentment of Nigerians after petroleum subsidy must have been removed. Judges at the Supreme Court in London have started hearing a case which will determine whether nearly 30 Nigerians can seek compensation from the oil giant Shell for damage to land caused by 2011 oil spill. The communities from coastal areas in Bayelsa and Delta State said their land was badly damaged by the spill. An early ruling by London's Court of Appeal said the case has been brought too long after the leak had happened. Under English law, a complainant can sue for damages to property no longer than 6 years after an alleged incident. The spill was about 120 kilometers, approximately about 75 miles off the coast of Nigeria, and lasted several hours before the pipeline was closed and oil stopped. At least 40,000 barrels leaked into the sea, making it one of the largest spills ever in Nigeria. The Nigerian communities argue that the oil devastated their shoreline and has continued to cause widespread damage to their land and water supply, and so they should be allowed to seek compensation. A ruling is not expected for months. The federal government on Wednesday raised the alarm over the rising cases of deadly incidents in filling station, depot, and by tanker drivers, which had claimed about 633 lives in less than 4 years. It vowed to sanction culpable oil marketers operating in the downstream sector over their poor management of health, safety, and environment, particularly when transporting and offloading petroleum products. A presentation by the Nigerian Mainstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority at a meeting with the petroleum product transporters and retailers in Abuja Wednesday indicated that a total of 633 fatalities were recorded in the downstream oil sector in 2018, 2021, and 2022 to date. Although the presentation did not capture the figures from 2019 and 2020, it indicated that the fatalities were caused by 388 incidents. The authority stated that the downstream sector witnessed 412 deaths from 244 incidents in 2018, while 173 deaths were caused by 103 incidents in 2021, as 48 fatalities were recorded from 41 incidents from 2022 till date. Condemning the development, the North Central Regional Coordinator of the authority, Maijida Abdulkadir, said they would recommend technical audits of which the outcome would be used in liaisons with other directorates in the issuance of various licenses. The Nigerian Mainstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has said it planned to recommend the Health and Safety Environment Technical Audit. Deputy Manager, Health, Safety, Environment and Community of the authority, Rukayat Akombi, made the disclosure at a one-day stakeholders workshop organized for the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria's Southwest Region on Wednesday in Lagos. According to her, the technical audit outcome will be used in liaison with other directorates in the issuance of various licenses in the downstream sector. She said there will no longer be business as usual, as it is now safety first, adding that the authority would ensure that the aspirations of the federal government by passing the Petroleum Industry Act are achieved. Akombi added that the technical audit will also evaluate the adequacy of the health, safety, environment requirements, competence and training of staff engaged by the operators. Speaking on the theme of the workshop, incessant incidents in the mainstream and downstream sector of the Nigerian petroleum industry, she stated that 412 deaths were recorded in 244 incidents from 2018 till the present. Delivering his address, Executive Director, Health, Safety, Environment and Community, Dr. Mustapha Lamode, explained that the purpose of the discussion on health, safety and environment was to call for sound management of health, safety, environment in the deposit, jetties and retail outlet operations in the downstream sector. The federal government, in partnership with private sector investors, on Wednesday commenced moves to deploy 1,000 mini grids to electrify rural communities across the country. The deployment of mini grids in rural areas is managed by the federal government's Rural Electrification Agency, as the agency supports private sector mini grids developers with funds to boost off-grid electricity development. Speaking at the Rural Electrification Fund Call 3 Bidders Workshop in Abuja on Wednesday, the Managing Director, Rural Electrification Agency, Ahmad Salihiju, announced that over 1,000 mini-grids would be built nationwide under the REF program and under off-grid initiatives. Salihiju, who was represented by the agency Executive Director, Corporate Services, Olaniyi Alaba, told bidders at the workshop that the Rural Electrification Agency was the implementing agency for Nigeria's rural electrification strategy and implementation plan. He said the Rural Electrification Agency would continue to support off-grid development and developers by creating an enabling environment to facilitate investments in various ways. On the purpose of the REF Call 3 Bidders Workshop, Salihiju said it was to sensitize all shortlisted bidders on their eligibility and selection criteria for business and financial models, technical specifications, regulatory requirements, and the timeline for submission of their proposals. Nigerian Employers Consultation Association has urged women to develop themselves and improve their net worth by driving their businesses with technology. Stakeholders spoke at the International Women's Day event with the theme Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, which was organized by the NECA Network of Entrepreneurial Women in Lagos in partnership with other organizations. The Commissioner, Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Cooperatives, Dr. Lola Akonde, who was the special guest of honor at the event, said the theme of the event was important as it represented powerful opportunities for gender equality and offer renewed hope for women empowerment. She said innovation and technology will play a part in responding to the challenges of multiple and overlapping crises, hence increasing the network of women in business and networks of women in business and networking among the women fold across the globe will be strengthened for productivity and profitability. The National President NECA Network of Entrepreneurial Women, Fumilola Arowogun, said the event was basically to celebrate the women, encourage them to embrace technology in their quest for better life and application to their businesses and endeavors.